Right, and as you can see on either side here, the lines are equal, like the gap between the lip there and the flange. So now I'm happy with that, I'll knock her off and we'll get on to the next bit. Right, we're going to put the injectors back in. I've had them out, obviously, cleaned it, but basically put it under pressure, little electrical connector on there to trigger it, and it cleans your nozzle out. There's loads of videos on YouTube showing you how to do that. New O-rings, and I've coated the O-ring in a light coating of oil, and basically that's what it sits in. So just push your O-ring in and it'll just push your O-ring in, push your injector in, and basically you want it sitting so it's level like that. And then get your other injector. The same thing with that, I've stripped that one out, not stripped it out as in I've took the O-rings off, pressurised it, blew it through, cleaned the nozzle on the end. Again, just a light coating of oil on the new O-ring, and then just push it in, and that's it. So then you've got your two connectors. When you come to put it in, little dab of oil on these O-rings as well. You don't want to be absolutely smothering it, it's just a light coating on the O-ring itself just to help it slide in. And basically just position it over its two holes and then just push, and it just clicks into place. And then it's all lined up, and you've got, I know you can't see it so well, but there's two screws going this bit to hold it in. I'll just grab them now. Now the screws are little Torx screws, and I probably haven't got the Torx bit kicking about, unless that's it. I'll do the job. Right, just little Torx screws. One in either side, and basically just tighten it down. Now you don't want to tighten these over the top because you will strip the threads. And that's your injectors in place. Next thing we'll do is I'll unscrew that. I'm sure you can see that actually. Unscrew that. I'll just alter this camera a little bit. See if I can zoom in anymore. No, I can't. But this screw here, it holds this. It's basically where your throttle cable's going and the plate. I'll take it off. Can be an arse, but just got to live with it. And it's an arse because there's a screw in here that needs to come out. Typically it's in a really awkward place. Right, I'll just knock it off for a second and I'll get some different tools. Right, I've loosened the screw. Just in here, there's a, see if I can get my finger in where you can see, just where my finger is there, there's a screw. And when you've seen us waggling it before, because that screw's awkward to get at, if you just pull it back, it tends to crack the screw, as in just loosens it, so when you do get a Torx bit on, it'll come undone easier. You just unscrew it a few threads and it'll expose this hole. When it's in place, as you can see there's like a plate on the end of this bit here that when it's back in place properly, it covers the hole. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting the mass airflow sensor back in, which goes into that hole. But I don't know if you can see them. No, you can. Here I've got a new seal. Now obviously it goes in there, but it goes in there once you've got your mass airflow meter sensor fitted to it. Now these can be a right pain in the ass to get off. So what I do is I get a little electrical screwdriver, a little tiny one. I've already started doing it, but basically I just put it in. You've got to be careful because this is plastic. Just put it in and basically just push the point of it through and just pull, and it breaks a lump off it, as you can see. I hope you can see. No, I'll pull it back round. Yeah, just breaks a lump out of the old seal and then you can just pull it off. As you can see there, the shape of it, it's got like a knurled top, and it just makes it awkward because it's a tight fit, is that seal. And to put the new one on, obviously just push it over. Push it all the way down till it goes over the top, and that's it, that's your new seal on. So again, same thing, a very, very, very light smear of oil on the seal just to help it go in the hole, and you're not wanting to soak it, drench it in oil, just a very, very light coating. And then once you're done, just line it up and then just push it in. Same as your injectors really, it just pops in and then it's just this plate. Which I obviously push back in. That's it. So just make sure your sensor's all the way in. Pull that over the top, and the screw that came out the top before, if I can find it. There it is. Now that screw had a tiny, tiny little bit of Loctite on it, so I'm just going to grab my Loctite, my blue Loctite, and I'm going to just put the tiniest dab of Loctite on it. And just put your screw back in. Now I've lost my screwdriver. Now you don't tighten that down yet because you need to tighten the screw in there. which is easier said than done. I just put a short Torx bit in. As you can see, it's a little bit tricky because there's a spring tries to push this spring here tries to push it out the way. And I keep dropping it. So instead of you watching me ask about doing that, I'll just knock you off for now. I'll come back in a minute. Right, we've got the screws tightened up on the mass airflow sensor. What we're going to do now is we're going to put the stator back on. Now, what I've done here is I've put some sealer around the plug part that goes through your case, just so I know it's watertight. So you carefully feed your cables in. Stator's been cleaned, obviously. I'm just going to get to the side of the camera here. And just pull your wires through until the cap is sticking out the case properly, and then once I've got this tightened up, I'll get in with a rag and clean off the excess sealer. So you get your stator in place, line your bolt holes up. Get my torch if I can find it. Now your screws that hold your stator on, if I remember rightly, I'm sure that it says that you're not meant to use them, and it's all down to the fact that they come pre-thinged with Loctite on them. So basically what I've done is I cleaned the screws up and then just put a little dab of blue Loctite on. Get it started into place, and just do that with each screw. Bit of Loctite, bit of blue. I think I must be getting low on this because it's getting harder and harder to come out. I shall have to purchase some more. And the screws aren't that tight on this. I think there's something like 8 Newton meters or something like that. Which, for the size of them, doesn't want to be much more anyways. They're a Torx 27. When you clean your stator, you want to use a solvent that leaves no residue. You can buy different types of stuff that leave no residue. You can buy specific electrical cleaner for cleaning like circuits and wire connections and things like that. And that is your stator back on. So I'll knock you off for a second, I'll get the rotor. Right, I've got the rotor. When you put your rotors on, just be careful because the magnetic force is quite strong. So don't put your fingers behind the rotor, just line it up. And that is your rotor on. So what I'll do next is I'll find my plug for the wires and I'll get that put in, and we'll also put the crank position sensor in. So I'll knock you off again for now. Right, when you come to put your plug on, there's little tangs on here, just make sure they're bent up away. You can see the bottom side of them, they just stick out slightly, so that when you push them in, they click into place, locks them in. So just get your two connectors and your connector block, just push them in. Give them a bit of a waggle about so they go into the slot, and then push, and then you hear the click. Look in the end, they're both equal. Give them a tug, won't come back out, and that's your connector block back on. Right, next thing we're going to do is replace the crank sensor, crank position sensor. So I'll just knock it off a second, get set up again. Right, crank position sensor. I've removed the old O-ring which sits in this groove. Just chuck that out of the way and get a new one. So just like everything else, just get your O-ring in position. Give it a waggle to make sure it's not all twisted up. And then just get a tiny bit of oil and just give it a wipe round. And then basically just line it up and push it home. Click into place, and then basically you just get your bolt, screw, whatever you want to call it. Screw it into place. And then this is torqued down to 13 Newton meters. And that is your crank position sensor fitted, and that's pretty much it for now with the engine. I've got the points cover to still fit, which I might do, but for now I'm not bothering. If I do put it on, I won't bother filming it. It's just a case of put it on, line it up, a little bit of low or medium strength Loctite into your LAL screws, and just put it in. Right, so that's pretty much the engine back together as far as I want it back together at the minute. So what I'm going to do now is I'll knock it off, have a bit of a clean up, and basically we'll start on the gearbox. So I'll come back when we're ready. Okay.